Hello, viewer. This is Prin, and today I bring you the hottest, steamiest Elden Ring sorcery content. I bring you the most high-octane, edge-of-your-seat thriller sorcery gameplay. Look at all of this Elden Ring. Oh my god, it's too much Elden Ring! No, it's not too much Elden Ring. It's actually a very reasonable amount of Elden Ring. I'm just exaggerating. Okay, anyway, this guy has Mog Spear. I don't want to get hit by Mog Spear. I don't want to get hit by the red circle. I don't want to get hit by the regular spear. So I'm keeping my distance from him. But he didn't level his health stat, which is very important. Level the health stat. And I kill them for it. I'm carried by Magic Glintblade. Magic Glintblade, the spell, carries me as a player. You know how they say people are carried in fighting games by certain DLC characters or what have you? Well, I'm carried by Magic Glintblade. Although you can poise Magic Glintblade somewhat easily, it doesn't really phase or affect me, or my plan as an invader. They're very useful to just hang there in the air. Even if you don't really intend to do anything with it, it's just free pressure. It has to be strafed. You're making somebody walk. Once again, that's not enough health. You need to level the health stat. Even I leveled the health stat, and I'm wearing something off a clearance rack from JCPenney's. And the Chanel boots. Almost all of my success here comes from how afraid I have made these players of sorceries off of probably killing that first phantom. But the fact that they aren't just swarming me is so to my benefit. I've got so much time and so much space here to just set up spells, walk in and Piercer, throw more Great Glintstone shards. I could really be doing whatever. And I mean, I didn't take a whole lot of damage from that straight sword attack, so this person also has a damage issue. I'm going to cite damage problem on this phantom as diagnosis. Damage problem. That might just be straight swords in Elden Ring, though. You might not be able to do more than, like, a seventh of my health with a straight sword R1. That might just be the world we live in. A straight sword R1 has to do a solid fourth of somebody's health to be worth swinging. A solid fourth. 4 hits must kill. 4 hits must kill. It could be 3 and some change, but 4 hits must kill. I can't stress this enough. The straight sword, although fast, does still have to put away phantoms at meta. And I mean, in turn, you also need to be able to take 4 straight sword hits to your face. I don't really know where this rule is coming from. I feel like it's just kind of intuitive. Maybe it's like approximation of DS3 numbers or something in my head. I pulled the Magma spells back out. They're very bad. I'm sorry. I've tried to use them again. Stone of Garank was doing most of the heavy lifting on this build, and that's just because Stone of Garank is really good. I will still bat for Rykard's Rancor. I feel like it accomplishes a lot of, like, utility stuff in an invasion that's really unique to it. It makes space for you. It's threatening enough. You can combo off of it. I think that's fine. I think Rykard's Rancor, worth the 2 slots, worth the FP cost. Absolutely. In the right situation. It's actually really good in this specific hallway because I can fire it straight up as they roll away. And then it clears just the whole hallway for me. Look at this. It takes a while to generate a usable hitbox, but I still find it useful. And if you can have 2 of them going at once while you're casting something else, that's pretty dangerous territory to be in. I went about doing Magma sorcery invasions because the recent hotfix made it so that Flame Grant Me Strength once again affected spells, because after the initial 1.09 patch, there were many buffs that no longer buffed spells, and that was changed, and now it buffs the Magma spells again. Not a lot, but, you know, enough. The Magma spells need a little love in other departments than damage, really. It does mostly come down to how slow they are, though you can make up for it with the beast spells. I found just dropping a roiling Magma on your location was pretty safe and useful, if not incredibly costly, especially on Azur's staff. But if I have to cast Magma spells, I'm going to be using Azur's Staff, especially if I can afford it like a meta. I did at one point attempt some Magma sorcery play at 60, and it did not really work out the way I wanted it to. Unfortunately, another side effect of having Catch Flame on this build is that it does kind of over-centralize our chase down game, especially when we don't have collapsing stars in the mix. This invasion is one of the rare instances where what I would consider to be an unwinnable situation turns around and becomes winnable because of consecutive misplays from the host team. I'm not going to completely discount my involvement because I did still facilitate this victory. After I cast here, I realized that I'm just like running in the wrong direction, and that if I go to the boss fog, then like they're just gonna walk through it. So I might as well go in the opposite direction and attempt to at least survive being surrounded. So that initial hurdle is cleared, because if we got in that hallway before the boss fog, we would have just been trapped, and they would have been spamming Dragonfire and Sleep Pots at us, and fortunately, they didn't. So now that I have space to work with, I can actually set up spells. This is sort of the irritating part of doing casters that most decently equipped melee builds don't have to do. Although I could also do some stun. It's that you need sort of an initial buffer of space in order to get anything going, because, you know, you need to be able to cast an asynchronous pressure spell and not get hit for it, which in this case is our Rykard's Rancor and Roiling Magma. Though there are instances where taking a trade to cast one of those spells is worthwhile, especially when you know it's going to lead to a kill or a particularly good scenario for you. In a lot of ways, this is just a prelude to Catch Flame spam, but it does cover you pretty well in that department. It does allow you to do a fair bit of Catch Flaming. Bestial Sling is here because I want something faster that does poise damage, and it also fits the theme. I have also made attempts to use the dedicated Magma Sorcery Staff, the Gelmir Staff, and it's bad for the Magma Sorceries because of the half-cast speed thing. Though if I were to go 45 int 45 Faith and take the Gelmir Staff, we'd be getting competitive damage from it anyway. I'm looking for a good choke point here, and I'm eyeing these doors. And I know that these branches are relatively precarious as well, and I just kind of stumble out onto them. This is really prime mage territory because there's corners, there's walls, there's a whole lot of space you can take advantage of to really funnel people into a position that you want them, and then you can hit them with your choice of finisher. Most commonly on this build it is Catch Flame, but it could also be Stone of Garank. Anyone who disrespects Roiling Magma takes a really extreme amount of fire, motion value, channeled through 60 int. Another benefit to going 45 int 45 Faith is that the Golden Order Seal gets really, really insane scaling. This type of strategy works more often than I would like to admit, and it's simply throwing a whole bunch of lava spells into a room. Some players would rather burn alive next to the Grace than get anywhere near the level. And that's not new information, I know, but it's just funny seeing a prime example of it in reality. And I've done some light moonlight greatsorting, which I was actually much more impressed by than I thought I was going to be, though I will admit that the quality of combat that we engaged in was largely, you guessed it, latency dependent. A particularly bad oversight that we did not account for is that the new running one-handed R2 to R1 true combo sometimes does not work if the R1 follow-up procs Frostbite on your opponent. And this is because any given status proc gives the opponent a chance to roll it in terms of damage. So not only do they roll the damage from the frost proc itself, they also roll the damage of the sword hit. Which, I mean, is fine. You did just land a running R2, and now they're frostbitten, so they're basically already dead. But it is a little frustrating. This is a silly little multicaster I'm working on at 80 plus 17. It doesn't really have much of a theme, other than initially I wanted it to be blue and gold, but those don't always synergize super well together, unless you have Piercer. I'm still thinking about this one a little bit. We turned it into a pure Golden Order build, or like a Golden Order and Beast Incants build for a little bit, and that was okay. I just wish I liked triple rings more. It can rip through absorptions like nothing, but it also suffers from the fact that it doesn't do any poise damage. It just doesn't stagger, which is not great if you're being chased down by multiple opponents. You kind of have to be able to stun on a turn and burn in order to be able to gain control of a situation and sort of leverage a possible frame advantage. And sadly, Triple Rings of Light just doesn't do anything like that. I attempted to use Wrath of Gold, but I wasn't thrilled by that. It kind of started taking over the build because it was so powerful on its own, and I didn't really love the way that played out. Also, yes, this build is light rolling. Though it's kind of my opinion now that just having high poise is universally better. I still like a good light rolling build every now and again. Light roll is the high mobility fantasy, even if it's greatly hindered now. Actually, I would say reasonably reined in, though it's still a little silly. It's just that Bloodhound Step, which is sillier and costs something, is now more powerful than light roll outright, instead of being comparably powerful. I would put Bloodhound Step on a sorcerer. Maybe not anytime soon, but at some point. I feel like having that sort of mobility would help tremendously, but having that amount of invincibility makes me a little uneasy. Not that invaders don't deserve it, because they do. I'm afraid it would make things egregiously long, drawn out, and uninteresting, and I'm sort of trying to avoid that. I very much like Bloodhound Step as either a temporary dodge or a rushdown option, and Light Roll just isn't as good of a rushdown option as Bloodhound Step can be. So in that way, I think it would benefit sorcerers and casters more, because there's no rushdown happening here. This is zoning. This is generously turtling. It's not camping, because you can't really camp as an invader because your goal is to kill the host, but it is fundamentally a defensive sort of strategy. Best defense is a good offense, or something. And here is a little rune level 90 high efficiency bug mage, which makes use of the primal glintstone blade and the glintstone scarab headpiece in order to secure the lowest sorcery costs in the game. You can do something like this yourself as low as you like, though I find the Twin Sage Crown to be overall more beneficial to sorcerers that are trying to do low-level stuff, because 6 int is a lot of int, and I take all the help I can get. Which is not true. The costs of the Glintstone Scarab being your absorptions is very steep, and that does kind of suck, especially if you were thinking about using a Source Seal with this thing, which I would not advise, because that will make you negative in pretty much every category. I make lots of use of Magic Limp Blade and Piercer together, especially because they are just so cheap. The Primal Glintstone Blade does cut into our health a little bit, but overall we invested pretty heavily in health, so that wasn't too bad of a detriment. Additionally, since we were going for high efficiency, we don't even need to have as much mind as we usually stat for. I don't really have a number I go for, just as many points as I possibly can invest, without sacrificing too much in the way of int or health. And sometimes I get those numbers wrong when I'm working at a particular rune level. We can pretty comfortably hit 50 int, and then with the physic tier, the intelligence not crystal tier, we can then provide ourselves with 10 more, getting us up to the soft cap of 60. And now I will leave you with a horrible demonic monstrosity, a rune level 6 twink. It is a twink in every possible sense, that is functionally a glass cannon. It has no health, and it has 42 int when it's all said and done. The plan was to use this to execute overleveled phantoms in Limgrave and Stormveil, but it turned out to be so obscenely powerful in the first, 2 or 3 invasions that we decided to just retire it prematurely. I thought it would be somewhat balanced because I can take maybe 2 hits at best, but it turns out that I can actually take more than that sometimes, and that doesn't work. Well, I mean, it does work out for me. I'm using the Ritual Shield Talisman so that I have extra absorptions at full health, and then I have Holy Ground as well to further aid in my survivability. And let me tell you, standing on Holy Ground is no joke. You wouldn't really think that Holy Ground plus Sorcerers mixes, but it does. Being able to create a sanctuary where you're functionally immortal is very powerful, and is a tool that everyone, not just sorcerers, should have in their arsenal in a given invasion, especially if you have the power to take advantage of long to medium ranges. And you have area denial, because the area denial will assist in covering your holy ground and allowing you to take even further advantage of it. Also, don't use Night Maiden's Mist at low level either. It's just... It will erase hosts in under 2 seconds. Before they even realize that their health is going down, they may be dead. I wanted to thank you all for your continued support of the channel and of the Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/prin_. We do various Elden Ring streams throughout the week, though schedule is a little inconsistent. And I also do other games such as Super Smash Bros. Melee, Deathloop, Dishonored, amongst others. So please do swing by and give us a follow if you haven't already. I do love hearing from you. Enjoy the remainder of this clip of this obviously overleveled phantom, and happy casting.